Hi, I want to just quickly go over Savitch C++ Chapter 8, Section 2, which is going to be covering the string class. I'll quickly go over it. I'm not expecting all of you guys use this for Chapter 6. I think it's going to make your life much easier. So if it's something that you can pick up and do it, I think it's going to be good. So I'm not going to go too deep in it. I'm just going to introduce you. If you want to talk more, we can talk more about it. You have your book, and this is section 2. And I'm going to quickly go over it so we can have some idea what this is and how you can use it. So first thing first, we talked about the classes and we talked about the objects early on in chapter 6. And this is this is just to remind you some stuff on that. We are not getting into too much into the classes. That would be chapter 10. Just some idea how this is working. So when we're talking about classes and object, remember we talked about that you have to create an object from a class to be able to use it. So in this case, we are creating object from the class string. And because of that, all the functions available in class string is going to be available to us so we can use it. And that's why it's so powerful. To be able to do that, we need the pound include string, and of course, using namespace std. So the way that is going to happen is when we call a string, it is a class, we create objects of them. So when we say S1, S2, S3, these are going to be object of a class string. Now we can assign one string object to another one. So the assignment works for a string. We also can put the text in there. Remember, a string is a class, so it has a lot of functions in it. It has a lot of stuff in it, but just the text, it does not have a class. So what happens, it does have some system in that's going to convert those things. We're going to be more exposed to it in your future classes. So the string is a class. We have S1 as an object of this class, and then we have a text that's going to be converted to a class. So basically, it's going to be put into this object. So this object S1 is going to contain this text. We can add two strings together. So that's something that's going to be useful. I don't know if we're going to use it in chapter 6 or not, but that's what it is. So construction for the objects. When you're building an object, the constructor is going to be executed. The constructor is a function that's going to happen during the building object from a class. So the default constructor is the one that does not have any parameter. So it's going to put the variable inside the object to default values. So we put the numbers to 0, we put the strings to null, and those kind of things. And if we have parameters, we're going to set it to those parameters. So we are having a factory that's creating cars, and today the color is going to be all yellow. So there is no question asking all the cars made today are yellow. So that's what the constructor is. So the default constructor for a string is going to set it to empty string. So we don't need to set the object of a string to null. It's going to happen automatically. So when we create an object of a string, it's automatically going to be a null character. So we can have a string phrase that's going to be set to null, and we can pass a parameter to it. So if you pass a parameter to it, it's going to take that one and it's going to set it to that value. That's the constructor with one parameter, and the first one doesn't have no parameters. I'm going a little fast on this one. We're going to get back to this again when we get to chapter 8. I just want to get some of you guys to know what's happening in here, and hopefully we can use it. It's not for everybody. Some of you, hopefully a lot more than less. So we see. So we do have the insertion operator. So we can do a cout on a string. You have seen that. We can use it for reading. You have seen that also. And of course, the extraction operator is going to skip over white spaces, space, tab, and new line. We have something called Getline. I want you to get used to this. It's going to be very easy to use it for some of the projects you're doing this week for chapter 6. Just instead of reading one thing at a time, you can read the whole line at a time. So the way it's going to work is we have the get line, we have is stream, and we have a string object. So we talked about the is stream earlier, and that is going to be like cin or in file, and then it can be a type of if stream, and then the string object is going to be a string that you're going to put your whole line in it. So I can potentially create a string called line, and I put the whole line in it. So the first part, we're going to define if it's going to be if stream or cin. The second part is going to be the string that we're going to put the whole line in it. So I'm going to call it line or whatever you want to call it. The whole line is going to go there, but it's not going to consume \n. So this is an example. We do the get line with cin and line. So it's going to read the whole entire line, and it's going to put it in this string called line. And when we print it, and we put something after it to see what's after it, you can easily see that the \n that the user entered is not part of this. So where is it? It just is sitting in the input buffer. So it still is there. So we can do characters. And remember, if we mix them up, if we do mix the get with the get line, we got to be careful about the leftover of \n after the get line. So when you do the get line, there is going to be a leftover \n, and we have to take care of it. We talked about this earlier in the other lecture videos. So mixing get line with get, you might end up with getting a new extra \n sitting on somewhere. Same thing goes if you mix the get line with the string. We're going to take a look at it. So get line automatically is going to stop at \n. So its default parameter for stopping is \n. But we can change it to any other character. So if you don't put anything on the third parameter, it's going to take \n as a default value. If you put something, it's going to go there and stops right there. So if I say cin line question mark, it's going to go and read this line, and it's going to stop right here. So that's what it's going to do instead of \n. Something to think about, but then we have to get rid of the rest of the stuff, and we got to do something about that. Okay, so mixing cin and get line. Remember, cin with the extractor operator skips over white spaces. Get line does not. When you do the get line, you're going to have an extra \n. So if I do a cin, it's going to leave a \n in there. And if I do a get line after it, so if I have a string line and I do a cin n and I do a get line after it, the get line, because we have a \n, the user is going to put something, push enter, then we are going to have \n in there. Get line comes along and it's going to stop at \n. So basically, it's going to give us an empty line. We have ignore. You remember we had the new line in chapter 6 that would eat up the characters all the way to the end of the line. that the new line function we used in chapter 6, but there is another function available here that's called ignore. We can use that to get rid of the stuff that we have, including \n. So if you detect, especially if you mix up these things, the cin with getline, with .get, if you're mixing them up, then we have to take care of that extra \n. We can use that new line function, or we can use this ignore. So we can have infile.ignore, we can have cin.ignore. So it's going to have some character. I generally put 80 in here for 80 character and the \n. So either one that comes first. So if you have a line of 60 character with a \n, it's going to stop there. But if you had a line that has more than 80 or 1000, it's going to stop right there. So it's just going to read up to that many character after where you are. So if you are in character number 75, it's going to read that many and going to go forward. So with the string processing, we can use bracket. That's coming up next chapter on arrays, that how this is working. But the bottom line is it's going to start at 0 and it's going to go to 1 less than the length. So if I have a name Mary, I'm counting it 1, 2, 3, 4 character. So my index is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. It starts from 0, ends at 3. So 0 is going to be the first character, 1 is going to be the second one, 2 is going to be the third one, and 3 is going to be the fourth one. We will practice on these things in chapter 7, and we're going to come back to a string in chapter 8, and we're going to go more detail about it. But just something to keep in mind about this. This is an example that your book has in display 8.6. Again, this is, you don't have to do this. I'm just putting it out there for the people who want to do it. So it's optional. It's not required for chapter 6. So we are looking at this, that if I want to go through the whole string, I'm going to start with the 0. I'm going to go less than length of the string. On the Mary was 4. So I start with 0, go less than 4. That's 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I can process it. I can do something about it. So for example, if I want to just change the first character of my first name and last name to uppercase, I can just use bracket 0 to upper and the last name 0. So it's going to take the first character, change it to uppercase, put it back in where it was before. We do have some function available in C++ 11. It might not be the compiler that you're using, but it is S2I and S2D, integer and double. So S2I is going to take a string of a number, and it's going to change it to digit. So for example, if you're reading the grade book as string, and your grade is 40 as a string, you can take that one and change it to an integer and put it as a grade. Same thing goes with the double. So that is available. Also, we have toString. I like this one better than the other ones. So toString is a function that will take whatever it is, a number, and it's going to change the number to a string. So if I have a number, I want to change it to a string, I'm going to use toString. If I have a string, I want to change it to a number, I'm going to use S2I or S2D. We have the operators, but to compare, so it's going to be looking at ASCII table. You have an appendix in your book for ASCII table. I put it on my previous lecture video, so you can do that. You can see, check for the equality. You can check to see if it's less than, greater than, less than equal, greater than equal. But you're going to remember that's going to be using a character set, meaning that A, which is 65 in ASCII table, it is smaller than a lowercase a, which is 97. So if I have a string, exactly the same thing, one start with capital A, the other one start with lowercase a, the capital A is going to be smaller than the lowercase a. So if I have apple with capital A and I have apple with lowercase a, then the one with the uppercase A is smaller. That's the way it's comparing. What else? That's all I want to go quickly over the string. I know it's a lot in there to learn. We will gonna go over it. I just hope that you have some tools to use for your chapter 6, section 3 to make your life easier. We can talk more in the class if you're interested. We can talk more in office hours. I can set up some time for you to do it. But let's talk. This is just the introduction. This is not the whole thing. We will spend time with the whole thing when we get to chapter 8.